Alrighty, guys, back here at the layout. Just want to kind of give everybody a little bit of an update, what we've been working on and what things have been improved on or changed since we last kind of got around the video. First off, our layout currently exists. It's kind of like a folded dog bone. So at this end of the layout, which I'm kind of working on primarily, we have a loop that the main line, it's a single main line, and it's pretty much on a constant grade of between 2.5% and 3.5%, depending on where it's located. It does level out up here at the top. In theory, these are not levels that are directly above each other in real life. There's a little bit of suspension of disbelief. Let's say that we've gone some distance to get to here, but there's going to be a little town area up here, starting to kind of accumulate some of our cityscape and whatnot. And we'll have a couple industries up here. Everybody that's been to the channel should know we've got a little spur coming over here. And this is where we've got our backdrop installed on this side to this point. Actually getting ready this week to order the next section of backdrop. We're going to be doing a transition right here to a different backdrop family. This is called Blue Sky Mountain. We're going to be transitioning to the Blue Sky Valley series. The reason being, we're going to come around over here and there's a window. There's actually two windows right here that we have to deal with. And we got about 13.5 inches to work with. So I don't want to have stuff coming up to the window and then boom, you got a window cut out. So make sure that we go under the window naturally and let the eye kind of follow that natural tree line or building line, whatever the case may be, all the way through. And then once we get to this side over here, which kind of carries down, this side is quite a bit longer. The side you were just looking at, I want to say, is about 21 feet in length. And over here on this side, we come around, I want to say this is 26 feet in length. Again, the other end of the dog bone. So this is our main line. It's a single track main line that goes around our main level. And the main level is, an upper and lower level on a constant gradient. It does in both places where you see this lower switch, and pardon the clutter, we're working on the layout, so it's a little bit dirty in here. Where you see these switches, this is the only literally two places where the layout is completely level on the main line, on our main level. Now, we have two kind of interchanges going into urban or city areas. And this is essentially on this side of the layout. And in my mind, I call this the eastern side of the layout, because leaving this area here going that way would be due east in real life, due west. So call this the eastern side of the layout over here. We would have essentially now what I would consider an interlocking, because this is going to be an extension, mainline extension going to another level, a lower level on the layout eventually. It's planned in phases. So we have a runaround track right here so that we can bring freight cars, manifests, sort of like a pseudo arrival or departure track, or just a siding for running around, dropping trains, and then the locomotive can take the reverse path back out. But taking this down here, this will essentially be the next main line going down. And if you look, right now we have a switch, and there's a bumper down there that's actually extends slightly off the table. Not a big deal. We're not going to be running trains down there, but that'll eventually lead to a connector that will come through this area over here. We got train storage over here. We're obviously going to have to make some changes, but we got a nice amount of space down here in my brother's basement. Have some taped out areas where we've already talked about some stuff, but this will be a connector, and it'll come back around, and it's going to go underneath the train current layout. Now there's some stuff that's stored under here that we're obviously going to have to move to a different place. But That'll give us the ability, because all this space up here, we essentially have that duplicated down below, and we'll be able to have some storage tracks and some hidden storage down there, so we can have some trains on the layout that are already built, and we can bring them in, bring them out of the line of sight as we see fit. And those tracks will probably be on toggled power switches, so the locomotives sitting on the rails aren't drawing power. A, in case something goes wrong. B, so that they're not running the chronometers unnecessarily. But there'll be a lower level that will, it might be 2 main lines, probably a single main line, but it's going to follow the same contour as the main line above it, but we'll be able to see it, and it'll allow us, our main line now is 1 full scale mile. It's exactly 1 full scale mile. So if we duplicate that down below, we'll pick up another scale mile, and then the connection is probably going to be roughly, 3/10 to 4/10 of a scale mile. So we'll have about a 2.5 mile main line, and there'll be the ability to reverse down below, come back up, and whatnot. So over here on this side of the layout, which is kind of my brother has been working on this side of the layout. It's going to be a heavy industrial area, and he's actually scratch building. I'll show you this in a minute. Pretty cool stuff. He's scratch building just essentially, what would you call it, Randy? A steel or metal foundry, or
steel mill?
Yeah, so he's scratch building a steel mill building. The first building that he built from scratch is this sort of engine facility. It's really cool. Kind of hard to get a true appreciation for it, but if you look up in there, he's got all the girders. He's got a crane hanging down. Pretty cool stuff. This will hold a switcher very easily. A big 6-axle like an SD50 or something like that. The nose does stick out a little bit, so 4-axle Jeeps or a short 6-axle like an SD35 will fit in there with no issues. We've got a couple sidings over here, but the main portion of what's going to be going on over here, he's scratch building this awesome facility. It's gonna be incredible. Most people would probably recognize this outline of this rusty corrugated building. That was started off life as the Lionel grain elevator. It was strangely, where he bought it, they insisted on giving him the box, even though it was already built. But it looked like it was put together by a 5th grader, and it was painted with, gosh, I don't even know, looked like it was painted with shellac from a candy apple. But he basically used that built building as a skeleton to build around it. I don't know if that makes sense. Nothing that we're looking at is original to the kit, right? Everything's covered up, right? Yeah. So everything that you're seeing, he's added over the top, and he did some really cool stuff. What side is it? He added a door and some brickwork over here. And he's still got a ways to go on it. That's just the main structure. He's got a little house that he built, or a little shed that he built over here. It's going to be an elevator. He opened up a spot right there. Right now he's got some PVC piping started, but that's going to be, there's going to be a whole bunch of piping and everything interconnected. Now he's actually working on the interior of the other portion that he's building. Pardon me as I walk through the basement here. So this is in here just kind of freeing up space. He's built this completely from scratch so far. It's kind of starting to take form. You can sort of see, it has a place for two locomotives to push hot metal cars or cars in. This will be the platform area where the workers are working. There's going to be roofing up here. It's going to be like a cupola roof. He's kind of patterning after a real mill, which have open sides, open air. We have an uncle that actually ran a steel mill here in Cleveland for many years that recently retired. So getting some pointers from him on that, but he's literally cut all this by hand, every single piece so far. Been working really hard on it, and I know when it's done, it's going to be amazing. So he's really kind of really tied up in that project right now. To this point, he's got a little scene finished over here. You know, I always get a kick out of it. We joke because it's a guy that owns a really nice Range Rover, but lives in the woods next to the railroad tracks in a trailer that was built in probably the 50s. You know, the irony. He's the $50,000 millionaire. But he's done a really cool job. He's got a lot of work done on this little bend in the road. He made these little concrete retaining blocks so you don't fall into the abyss down here. Got a little access road to, right now there's an oil derrick sitting there, but upon further review, putting an oil pumping station next to a hot metal foundry, maybe not the wisest thing. So I think this is going to be some sort of electrical substation at some point, and the oil derrick will get moved to another part of the layout. He's got a grade crossing over here, and got the beginnings of a little mountain scene going. That goat better look, or lamb better look out for that bear. But kind of this part of the layout is on hold until we get all the way down here with our backdrop.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, because can't really do finish work over there and then go behind it with the backdrop with permanently planted trees. That would be a nightmare. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of really cool industry down here. On a couple videos ago, there was a scratch built tank assembly that he made. That'll end up down here. There's going to be something cool. We'll do something cool with Trackside Scenery here on a custom backdrop. The other thing that we run into is, if we come all the way back down here, this would be the primary spot where our backdrop is going to come off. So literally, where you see this seam right here in the actual table going all the way down the wall, it's a constant grade coming down, and it's not 100% consistent. The bridge is actually level. So every backdrop coming down this wall is going to be a custom backdrop. I don't know, my brother really wants to get the backdrop in down here, and I get it. But I don't know. We're gonna have to have a precise laser leveled line or something if we work back. And then I was all for coved corners, but my brother wants to live like Picasso do. So we got cornered corners. So we'll be coming back into this corner here. And I suppose as long as I'm close enough to where these things made up, I can make it work, but we'll have to figure it out. But like I said, we'll get the next couple transition piece right there, and then the next couple backdrops can go in, and then we'll decide if we want to work from the left to the right or from the right to the left. These backdrops aren't cheap, so dropping a bunch all at once. But coming over here, actually, so in that same interlocking that I was kind of mentioning, coming in through the interlocking and taking, this would be our main line connector going down. If we come back over this way, this would take you to the other side of our dog bone, which is kind of the side that I'm working on. It splits off into two tracks, and there's a couple things going on back here. First off, I know this is pretty ugly right now, but this is eventually going to be, this is a pull out for, just in case we ever have any derailments or need to get back in there, it's a pull out so that we can access that. There's two tracks back there. One of them is a feeder track to the inner portion of our little area over here. It'll come in through this area, and then we'll have a two tracks feeding. This is the Menards Vetter sash and door, which looks very, very brand new right now. Understandable. It'll get weathered up. It's a really cool kit though, really is. Lights up, moving fans. So that'll be really pretty cool. And then coming off that spur, we have a Y. We actually have two Ys, which gives us another holding track and another, this would be a mythical main line going off to Points East. It actually comes off the layout. It's dead. It doesn't go anywhere. But the idea is it'll look like that. I'll have a grade crossing in there. At some point, I'll get that wired up. And it's more for effect than anything. Since trains won't really be going across the grade, I will probably make that manual control so we can kick it on and off as necessary. That doubles back. This whole area right here is going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of heavy equipment company, so I can put my die cast, excavators, bulldozers, stuff like that down there, with a little bit of a delivery or drop-off track over here. This stub in my mind's eye was always, it's going to be switch. It's going to be, I'll be able to, you know, eliminate power from it so I can have a switcher parked there if I care to. And right here is the one thing up top that I still haven't 100% committed to. I don't know if I'm going to make this a stub end holding track or if I'm going to run this back and connect it right there. So I actually give myself a runaround back here, which probably makes the most sense. And that's probably 95% with the direction that I'm leaning. Probably end up doing that. Everybody knows the stub track up here. This is going to be a concrete industry. We've got a switch right here. It'll feed back into the back, and then we're going to have actually a pretty sizable concrete facility back here, which should be pretty cool. I think the plan over here is to, you know, we got a switch right here. Plan over here is to have agricultural, some sort of agricultural environment with a couple industries to switch. I really like switching and actually having fun. Fun for me is a train running in the background while I'm doing some work and actually doing something with purpose. So that'll be that portion of layout, you know. And like I said, lower level, we've got our work cut out for us. It's going to take us a long time to get it finished, but doing a lot of ballast work around the areas of the track where we can get it done. We use Brennan's Better Ballast. Started scenicking this area down here. It looks very green right now. I had somebody that made a comment, and it does. It really looks like spring. It does look like spring right now. My plan is to come back in with the airbrush and knock down some of these really bright green tones. It does look very springy. Gotta get on this side of the layout. We've got the Homoso, you know, kind of contoured cut, and it goes all the way down to that junction down there. I'm getting to the point over here where I can really get the Homoso. I believe I can get it in, so we'll probably be getting that in the very near future. Started doing some weed work with some of the Siflor materials. Planted some tall grasses and other weeds, some handmade weeds. I scored a box of, I don't know, they must have come off of another layout, secondhand trees and stuff. I really think they're super trees. They're not done very well. they're way too clustered with foliage, but for me they make great bushes and undergrowth. So starting to get that stuff planted in. I'm starting to get some minor details in as we kind of come around the track. I still have to finish this kind of part of the hill over here. I just have some lichen and whatnot kind of punched in there right now, so you don't see any unpainted background, but that'll eventually be some form of vegetation. That's a little bit more convincing. Over here in this little cut, you know, the track kind of comes around to allow for our spur up here to exist. Got some super trees made. I made those the last week when I was up, and got those all planted. Like the way it turned out. They're not the biggest trees in the world because this space is actually quite small. I'd say it's from the wall to the rail, it's maybe at maximum 8 inches. So got some bigger trees that I made down here. They just don't fit up there. So I'm going to have to find a better place to put those. Another thing that we've done, you really don't see it. Some of the ground cover my brother has over here is not, it's just basic ground cover at this point, with, you know, nice contours in the ground. He does a nice job with that. No grasses or weeds on that yet, but he's actually started, if we kind of come down here, you can see all the rock work that he's done kind of on this return wall, and starting to do, you know, sort of that almost like shale type, you know, rock fall coming off the sides. And right now it's a little bit monotone, but he's got many different textures in there at this point, which is really pretty cool. And I know that he's planning on coming back in with a bunch of different paints, and there'll be weeds and vines and all kinds of stuff going on over there. I think that'll look really cool when it's done. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on so far in the layout. It's a lot of work, non-stop, but you know, in the end, it's just the fun of this hobby that makes it all worthwhile. You know, turning a little bit of wood, a little bit of nothing into something. And in the last year, it feels like we've gotten a lot accomplished. But just thought I'd give everybody a quick little layout overview and layout update. Hope you guys are enjoying your week so far. And really appreciate everybody coming by, spending some time with us here at the Lake Erie and Midwestern. Hope to see you guys soon. Thanks a ton for visiting. Happy railroading, everybody. Take care.